Good morning everyone. Welcome to Biology with a Difference with Babita Rani. Today we will discuss nutrition in human beings. As you know, the kind of mode of nutrition in human beings is holozoic nutrition. So there we will have 5 steps in the nutrition. So what kind of nutrition is seen in human beings? We have holozoic nutrition, where food is taken in through a particular part of the body. Solid food is taken in. Now the 5 steps of holozoic nutrition, if you remember we had discussed it in the last class, is ingestion. Ingestion, where we take in food. Process of taking in food is called ingestion. Number 2, digestion. This is the main process of nutrition, where complex food is broken down into simple soluble food. And the third one is absorption. After the food is broken down into simple soluble forms, it is absorbed by the cells of the small intestine, that is inner layer of the small intestine. The fourth process is assimilation. The absorbed food is distributed to different parts of the body wherever it is required. And the last one is egestion. The undigested food that is left in the large intestine is thrown out of the body through anus, a part of large intestine. Let us see the alimentary canal now. This is the alimentary canal of human being. I'll have to change the color. Yes. So alimentary canal of human being begins with the mouth. This is the buccal cavity, and we have a gland in the buccal cavity which is known as salivary gland. From this buccal cavity, food moves into a tube-like structure which is known as esophagus. This is skeletal in nature. This part of the esophagus is made up of skeletal muscle, and this part of the esophagus is made up of smooth muscle. From esophagus, the food goes into the stomach. In the stomach, food remains for 2-3 hours so that it is digested there, and then from stomach the food goes into the small intestine. The purple color that you see here is the small intestine. Small intestine receives juices from different organs. One is the liver, which is supposed to be the largest gland of the body. This is the largest gland, and this secretes bile juice, which is stored in a small structure called gallbladder, and then whenever required it is poured through this tube-like structure into the small intestine. Another one is pancreas. Pancreas is a gland which is secreting hormones as well as enzymes. For digestion we require enzymes. So that enzyme which is secreted by pancreas is brought into the small intestine. And intestine itself has its another juice which is known as intestinal juice, that is secreted. So we have 3 different types of secretions in small intestine. From small intestine it goes into the alimentary canal. The undigested food we have moves to the large intestine, and it is thrown out of the body through anus. So this is part of the alimentary canal. Few glands are shown over here which is used in digestion. One is salivary gland, the other is liver, the third one is pancreas, fourth one is present in stomach, fifth is present in small intestine. We will discuss that in detail in a meanwhile. Ingestion. Ingestion, what is ingestion? Let me change the color. Ingestion is taking in of food. So, human beings take in food through their mouth, and we have a buccal cavity inside which has teeth. Human beings have 4 different types of teeth, all of them helping in different functions: chewing, cutting, grinding, tearing. All these are done by teeth. It also has, buccal cavity also has tongue, which helps in mixing of food with the saliva. So, inside the buccal cavity we have teeth and tongue. They have other functions also. I am discussing this for tongue. I am discussing only the function which is related to digestion. Then from here it moves in the buccal cavity. Next step is digestion. Digestion begins in the mouth itself. In the buccal cavity we have a gland called salivary gland, and this gland secretes saliva, and saliva contains the enzyme called salivary amylase. This salivary amylase acts on carbohydrate and converts it into maltose. So, what happens in mouth? The first part of the alimentary canal, we have a gland called salivary gland, and this salivary gland, there are 3 pairs of salivary gland in mouth, that is subparotid, submaxillary and sublingual, and these glands secrete a juice which is known as saliva. Saliva contains the enzyme which is known as salivary amylase. Salivary amylase acts on carbohydrate and converts it into maltose. From mouth or buccal cavity, the food moves into the esophagus in the form of a round structure which is known as bolus. This esophagus is a tube-like structure which is muscular in nature. So, if it is muscular, it will continuously contract and relax. So, the food that is present over here, it passes into the next part of the esophagus when this part of the esophagus contracts. When this part of the esophagus will relax, the bolus that is present over here will be pushed to next part of the esophagus, which will now contract. So, this is how food passes in the esophagus, and it is known as peristalsis. So, movement of food, food that comes from the mouth is known as bolus. It comes in the form of a rounded structure, and it moves through the tube-like structure because of continuous contraction and relaxation of the esophagus, because it is a muscular structure, and the process is known as peristalsis. From esophagus, the food moves to the stomach. It remains here for 2 to 3 hours. In stomach, the enzymes act and is in an acidic medium. In stomach, enzymes act in an acidic medium. So how is this acidic medium provided to the stomach? Stomach has a gland which is known as gastric gland. These gastric glands secrete a juice called gastric juice, and this contains 3 different things, and all of them have their own function. One is HCl, the other is mucin, and the third one is the enzyme, that is pepsin. What is the role of HCl? HCl will provide acidic medium for the enzyme to act. Where? In stomach. Next is, it also kills the food that comes along with microorganisms. So all the microorganism is killed because of the action of hydrochloric acid. And third one is, it converts inactive pepsinogen into active pepsin. So this is function of HCl. Another secretion of gastric juice, another component of gastric juice is mucin. Mucin provides, or you can say protects, the walls of stomach from the action of HCl. So the 2 components of gastric juice are HCl. HCl that provides acidic medium for the enzyme to act in stomach, because we had 6.8 pH in the mouth, and in stomach it generally acts at 1.4 to 1.6 pH. So HCl provides that acidic medium for the enzyme to act in the stomach. It also kills all the microorganisms that comes along with the food. It converts inactive pepsinogen into active pepsin, and what is inactive pepsinogen we will talk in a while. And the second component is mucin that protects the walls of stomach from the action of HCl. And the third component that we are mainly concerned over here is the enzyme pepsin. There are 2 enzymes in the stomach. One is pepsin and the other is renin. But these enzymes, because these are acting on proteins, these enzymes are never present in their active form. They are always present in their inactive form. They are not present in active form. Why are they not present in active form? Because stomach wall is made up of protein. If food is not present inside the stomach and they are present in active form, what will happen? They will start digesting the walls of the stomach. So, the inactive form of pepsin is known as pepsinogen, and that is converted into pepsin by the action of HCl, and inactive renin is converted into renin with the help of pepsin. And pepsin acts on proteins. So, pepsin acts on proteins and it converts it into proteases and peptones. These are smaller units of large molecules of proteins. Renin acts on milk protein. And converts it into proteases and peptones. Gastric juice also has a very small amount of gastric lipase, but digestion of fat is negligible in stomach. Next, from stomach the food goes into the small intestine. And here, as I have told earlier, they receive secretions from liver. Liver is the largest gland and it secretes bile juice. Bile juice has no enzyme. This is important for digestion, but it has no enzyme. This you have to remember. Bile juice has no enzyme, yet it is very important for digestion. Why is it important for digestion? One is it converts or it provides the medium alkaline for the enzymes to act in intestine. So, it provides the alkaline medium for the enzymes to act in intestine. Even more important than that is it helps in emulsification of fat. What is emulsification of fat? Emulsification of fat is breakdown of fat molecules into its smaller molecules. For example, suppose if I have a fat molecule over here, it is broken down into smaller molecules of fat. Digestion has not taken place, only it has been broken down into smaller molecules of fat. Why this is necessary? Because suppose we have a big molecule of fat, the lipase will act on this from the outer surface. So, this is how lipase will act on one molecule of fat, and if it is broken down into smaller molecules, it can be acted upon by like this. So, it increases the surface area for lipase to act upon. So, that is why it is broken down into smaller units. So, this is what happens. Blue colored structures are the lipase. So, you see, if it is a big molecule and if it is broken down into small molecules, this becomes more easier because it has increased the surface area for absorption, and that is known as emulsification. You can understand it with a simple analogy also. You have a chapati. When you have to eat it, you break it down into simpler, smaller chunks, and then you eat one by one. And why do we do that? So that it becomes easier to chew that and mix with saliva. Similarly, we are breaking down this fat molecule into smaller units so that it can lipase can act easily on it. So bile juice, what is the function of bile juice? In spite of not having any enzyme, it is very important in the process of digestion because it is helping in emulsification of fat, and it provides alkaline medium for the enzymes to act in the intestine. The second component in the intestine is received by the pancreas, which is pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice has several enzymes. For protein, it has trypsin. Again, trypsin will not be present in its active form. It is present in its inactive form, that is trypsinogen. And trypsinogen is converted to trypsin with the help of an enzyme called enterokinase, which is present in small intestine. Another enzyme that is present over here for carbohydrate digestion is pancreatic amylase. For digestion of carbohydrate, we have pancreatic lipase for digestion of fats. So pancreatic juice has enzymes for digestion of all the three components that we are studying now. The third component of this is intestinal juice, which is secreted by intestine. And here complete digestion takes place. Whatever digestion is left in the mouth or in the stomach, that is digested completely in the intestine, and with the help of pancreatic juice and intestinal juice. Pancreatic juice has several disaccharides, whereas like lactase, which will digest lactose, it has maltase, which will digest maltose. It has sucrase, it will digest sucrose. So there are several enzymes in aminopeptidase. So there are many enzymes in intestinal juice, and digestion of all the carbohydrate, protein and fat is complete in the intestine. So after complete digestion, protein is converted into amino acid, carbohydrate is converted into glucose, and fats are converted into fatty acids and glycerol. We have other isomers of glucose also, like fructose, galactose, but you can remember glucose for now. So digestion is complete, protein is converted into amino acids, carbohydrate into glucose, fats into fatty acids and glycerol. Now after digestion is complete, if you remember, absorption has to take place. So absorption takes place in the small intestine, and inner layer of the small intestine is folded and richly supplied with blood vessels. So this is how is it helping in absorption? Its inner lining of intestine is folded. Why? To increase the surface area of absorption. Absorption can be active, as in case of glucose. It can be by simple diffusion, as in case of glycerol. So it can be facilitated also. So we have all the different types of absorption in the small intestine. This is another layer of small intestine. So the innermost layer is folded. It is also richly supplied with blood vessels, so that after absorption it can easily be richly supplied with blood vessel. Why is it richly supplied with blood vessel? So that after absorption assimilation can take place. What is assimilation? Assimilation is distribution of absorbed food to different parts of the body. How it is distributed? With the help of blood, depending upon the requirement of the body. And the last process is digestion. The undigested food from small intestine passes to large intestine is removed from the body through anus. So this is what happens in the 5 processes of nutrition. Large intestine helps in absorption of water. I had talked of a term bolus, when food was coming from esophagus, mouth to esophagus. After stomach, when the food moves out, it is known as chyme, which is slightly acidic in nature. And from small intestine, when it comes into the large intestine, it is known as chyle. So these are 3 terms associated with food when it leaves a certain part of the alimentary canal. This is all for today. If you like the video, do share it with your friends, and hope you had a happy learning. Do subscribe the channel and click on the bell icon to receive the notifications whenever a new video is released. Thank you for watching.